So welcome to some more 10 out of 10 video games. Video games that I personally think deserve the 10 out of 10 right next to them. Now, before I begin, I want to say there is no official list out there of 10 out of 10 games. This is a purely personal list. What are some games that you guys think are 10 out of 10 games? Let me know down below. And I'm just doing this for fun. And some of these games initially weren't 10 out of 10s for me. And I'm going to explain why that changed for some of them here. And I'm really looking forward to doing this today. Let's start with the very first game that came out in 1991. And I already gave the predecessor to this game a 10 out of 10. And that game is Super Ghouls and Ghosts on the Super Nintendo. 1991, I was 17. I got this game. I played it all summer. And why is the game a 10 out of 10? Just like the game that came before it, Ghouls and Ghosts right here, it all came together. It's the perfect package. Once again, this was the perfect package on the Genesis. This is the perfect package on the Super Nintendo. And the reason why, the graphics, I mean, the sprites in this game looked amazing. The animation, the level design, I've said it before, the gothic settings were perfect. And the other thing about this game that is absolutely crazy is the difficulty. Now, if you just started playing this game, you probably get killed a few times just in your initial first playthrough of the first level, because why I love it so much is the more and more you play it, like a lot of old school games, you get better and better and better. And for me that summer, it was about me playing the game every single day, tackling a new challenge, a new level, and doing it over and over and over again until I'd memorized the level that I just could play it even with my eyes closed, I swear to God. And that's the thing, and that's why I give it a 10 out of 10. I come back to this game. I'm still coming back to this game now. I'm 47. I was 17 when I originally played it, and play it all the way through. And sometimes I start the game and I have a very bad play session. And sometimes I play all the way through the game and I do almost a perfect play session. It depends on the mood. And the game offers a level of difficulty that is extremely fun because you can get past it. It's not cheap. It's not just cheap. If you do the right jump at the right place at the right time and know what you're doing, you can go through the entire game without dying. You can do that. I've never done a perfect run, but you can do that. And there's just something about that music back then, and just that time period. And the Super Nintendo was shining. This game was shining more than any other to me. A great action platforming game, one of the best. Now, my next game is a game that originally came out on the Wii U and was my game of the year that year. And that was for Mario Kart 8. But it's not this version I'm going to talk about. It's this version right here. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Nintendo Switch. Now, I originally played this game. I loved it. I loved the inclusion of the battle mode and all the extra levels and all the extra DLC included in this version. It was perfect, pretty much. But I gave it a 9.5. I thought, it was hitting there, but it wasn't quite the 10. It wasn't quite the 10. What pushed this game to be a 10 for me now? I played it so much. And that is the telling of a game that's just like, you originally play it and you're like, it's really good. The proof is in the pudding that I keep coming back to it. And I keep coming back to it. I play it with my friends. I play it with my wife. I play it with my nephew. I play it anytime I get a chance. I even played it on a plane against a kid that was going to the Nintendo World Championship. He was sitting in front of me and he's like, hey, his family recognized me from the show. We played Mario Kart on the plane ride over to New York City. I mean, how awesome is that? And I think that's what it is the replayability of this game. If you're on a desert island and you have friends, this game would be the game to have with you. It is eternally fun. Getting hit with that blue shell can drive you nuts. But wow, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is the perfect Mario Kart experience. Now, my next game was released in arcades in 2001. And I originally played it on the Sega Dreamcast. And it is a shooter. It's a shooter. People call them shmups now. We called them shooters back then. And for me, it is the ultimate shooter that I've ever played. It is a 10 out of 10 game for shooters. I mean, this game is the best shooter I've ever played in my entire life. I can honestly say that I played it so much over the years, and every time I play, I'm always like, this game is the best shooter I've ever played, and that is for Ikaruga. Here, it's on the Nintendo Switch, it's on the PS4, it's on all sorts of consoles, it's come out over the years now. It's wonderful that you can actually buy it fairly cheap on any console or on Steam or anything like that. Wonderful game. What makes it a 10 out of 10? Well, number one, it was from Treasure back in the day when they were on fire, and they created a concept that was fascinating, that had never been done this way before, and that is the configuration of your ship. You can change it to the white configuration or the black configuration. What does that mean? Where enemies that are attacking you, and they attack you with black bullets, if you turn to black configuration mode, it won't affect you. So if you are in white configuration mode and you start getting hit by white bullets, you build up your meter, and then you can unleash that against enemies as well. So the great thing is here is you're switching back and forth throughout the game, and it gets pretty hectic at times. So the trick of this game is switching between black and white mode, back and forth, and getting the advantage on certain enemies because of that. And the gameplay is kinetic. It is crazy. And the later on into the levels you get, it gets absolutely insane. But that is where the fun is with the game, and why it's a 10 out of 10 game is because you will keep wanting to get better at the game and do a perfect playthrough, which I've never done. I've seen people online that play this game, and I marvel at it. I'm like, oh my god, I don't know how they're doing it. They're switching back and forth between black and white mode so fast. And I'm just like, oh my god, how do you know when to do it exactly at the right time? It's difficult. It's a difficult game, but it's absolutely rewarding with the gameplay mechanics. And that's what Treasure created here, the ultimate shooter of all time. To me personally. Now, in July 2008, I remember grabbing this game and burning it on the highway to get home to put it in because I'm the biggest fan of this series, and that was for Street Fighter 4. And I ran home with my collector's edition for the Xbox 360. I threw it in. I was so thrilled that we finally had Street Fighter 4. And I want to say, when I originally saw Street Fighter 4, some of the characters, I thought, ooh, like Ryu and Ken look like barbarians. They don't really look like anime-style characters anymore, like the Capcom look of the past. But I was like, oh, I'll give it a go, whatever. And I'm glad I did. They kind of really ironed out the character designs. And the initial bunch of characters are fun, and they really fit into the Street Fighter universe. And at this point, it had been a while since we had a Street Fighter game. We had Street Fighter 3, which initially came out in 1997, and we're in 2008 now. So the hype was starting to build. Everybody was like going, is Street Fighter back? And guess what? Street Fighter was back. And that initial bunch of characters was really good for the original release of the game. And then, over the years, there were many, many more versions of Street Fighter 4. And the inclusion of the new characters, the stages, the play mechanics, everything got upped. And there became a new level of strategy to the game that we had never seen before. And the game became a very competitive fighting game. I remember being at work, and there would be about 10 to 15 people playing it every day at lunch. Everybody was so into the game, and it never got boring. It was years and years later, people were still playing it. And you know what's so strange is that when Street Fighter 5 came out, I was just like, it's not Street Fighter 4. That's how good Street Fighter 4 was. It brought the game to top tier level, and then Street Fighter 5 was just kind of like, I remember I couldn't even play that game on day one because there wasn't even an arcade mode. Could you believe it? Street Fighter 4 came out of the gate on fire, and it built on that momentum and got better and better and better and more complex. And it was the game that made me say, I'm a retired Street Fighter player. I'm playing this just for fun because the level of competition got so intense, and it got to such a level that I couldn't compete anymore. I was a Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter Alpha guy from the olden days, and this new Street Fighter 4 brought in a brand new generation of players. And that's the one thing that it did. It really breathed new life into Street Fighter. And we all thought Street Fighter was finished at that point, right? Street Fighter was pretty much done. And no, it was not done. It was on fire. It was Street Fighter 4, 10 out of 10 game. Looking at where it started from, right to the end game was unbelievable. Okay, a couple of more games. This is a game that I played, and I just couldn't believe how good it was. the original game, and that is Tony Hawk Pro Skater. The original game was amazing, but it was the remaster of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, kind of a remake. Oh my God. I sat and played that over the summer, and it was absolutely incredible. It brought back all of my love for the original game with this brand new high definition look. It looks amazing, but also the gameplay was perfect in the original game. It really was. And I loved the original gameplay, and to play it again and to start doing all of the levels all over again, it wasn't just nostalgia. It was, this is such a fun game. It was fun then, it's even more fun now. The way it looks is even better. But the gameplay, everything that you're doing, the skateboarding techniques, I mean, I couldn't get enough. Being a skateboarding guy out of the 90s, when I originally played Tony Hawk, I was like, oh my God, they've made my game. And this game was unreal. I loved it. I played it all summer long, collecting all of the icons, doing every single thing you could do in the game. A true 10 out of 10 game, one of the best skateboarding games ever made. Now, what I wanted to do with all these games, I got one more game to go, was show you a lot of different style of games. We've got action platformers, we've got some racing games, some shooting games, some fighting games, some skateboarding games. And for the last game, my Ultimate Racer. My Ultimate Racer. My Ultimate Racer before used to be Ridge Racer Type 4. That's what made me get into the genre, right? That's what made me get into racing games to begin with. But it was Forza Horizon 4 that pushed it over the edge for me. When I saw that game playing, when I realized I was playing it and not watching a movie, I was like, this is incredible. Taking place in Scotland, I do what I do in Grand Theft Auto at times. I just drive around. That's all I do. And I just, see my shadows of my friends driving around me and stuff like that. But my God, driving around Scotland, it was something else. And the update that they just did, I mean, the game is amazing. The amount of nights I'm sitting there and I'm like playing it and I'm getting high as a kite and I'm not doing any drugs or drinking or nothing like that. And I'm just getting this adrenaline rush. And I'm like, whoa, I've never had this adrenaline rush in a racing game before. And just the amount of cars you get in the game, the day to night, the weather, everything about it, it is the ultimate racing game. And it's fun. For me, it has that kind of arcadey fun. I could never get into Gran Turismo back in the day, but boy, can I ever get into this. And it's a game I will just turn on and I'll just drive for hours and just listen to the radio stations and change the radio stations and pick new cars and try to beat my friends' shadow times and stuff like that. A lot of fun. And I haven't even scratched the surface of the game. Realistically, I played for so many hours, but my God, just that alone makes me love the game so much. And I look forward to the future of this series. I mean, it is a top tier racing game nowadays. That's for sure. So guys, those are some of my 10 out of 10 games that I wanted to talk about today. What are some games for you that are 10 out of 10 experiences? Maybe some games you just recently finished. Let me know and let everybody else know down below. So anyways, guys, until next time.